Okay, so in this project, we also look at how forest management can contribute to a sustainable bioeconomy and what role wood products can play in that. Next slide, please. Okay, so for that, we focus on a few activities. So the first one is to map current and future trends in demand for wood and wood-based products. And associated needs in wood properties. Next slide, please. So we want to make sure that, okay, if you look at or propose forest management scenarios that help to mitigate climate change, that they also meet societal needs, that they are community supported. So therefore, we map those trends in the demand for wood. We'll do that, and we're currently working on that with with a systematic literature review and with some stakeholders interaction. So we actively have some interviews with different actors in the wood supply chain. Next slide, please. Okay, the next step we look at the demand for wood products, especially long-lived wood products, as they capture carbon. But then we want to investigate, to what extent those are environmentally, those long-lived wood products, superior to other products that they substitute. For that, we rely on life cycle analysis and life cycle costing. Of course, we cannot do that for all wood-based products. So we'll make a selection. For that selection, on the one hand, we'll base ourselves on the systematic literature review that will learn us, for which wood products are in high demand, what the market shares are, and then we'll consider also carbon emission intensities and product lifetime and recyclability when assessing the environmental impact of some wood products and the products they are substituting. Next slide, please. Okay, so then we know to what extent certain wood products are superior or not compared to their substitutes. On the other hand, we also want to, even if they are better, we want to make sure that the alternatives we propose and the wood products they deliver, that those wood products are also preferred and demanded and bought by consumers. So therefore, we will assess consumer preferences for selection of wood products. Again, it's not possible for all wood products. For that, we'll rely on a choice experiment, so choice modeling to assess consumer preferences. So a choice experiment will be embedded in a web survey. And basically what it boils down to is that we present stakeholders, consumers, general public, with a series of forest management alternative, different wood products, and some characteristics, and we ask them which they prefer. Again, we cannot do it for all products, so we have to focus on a selection of wood products. So far, we have been discussing it already. On the one hand, you could think of building materials, though consumers are not buying those on a regular basis. It's only once or twice when you're building a house. So therefore, we might think of looking to some furniture, for example, things that consumers are buying more frequently. So we present them with different wood products, ask them whether they are willing to buy it for a certain price, and those wood products are then described based on certain characteristics. We will also investigate we ask them for their preferences. If we then next provide them some extra information on the forest management behind those products and how sustainable that is, we can investigate to what extent by providing information or maybe through ecological carbon label, we can stimulate consumers' willingness to buy and also pay for those long-lived wood products. Then, next slide, please. So forest management delivers certain wood products, but it also delivers ecosystem service and biodiversity. We believe it's important that the alternatives that are proposed that are community supported. So we will also, in a limited set of countries, and do assess consumer preferences for the management alternatives and their related ecosystem services and biodiversities. Also there, we will rely on a web survey with a choice experiment embedded in it, and we present the participants in that survey with different forest management scenarios and the characteristics and the ecosystem services linked to those scenarios. And we present them 2 by 2 and each time ask to what extent they prefer one over the other. And again, we will investigate to what extent by information provision we could alter their preferences. Then next slide, please. Fourth, if we propose alternative management scenarios, of course, it are the forest managers that have to adopt those alternatives. And hence, we also need to make sure that they see it possible, that they are supportive of the proposed scenarios. Therefore, we assess forest managers' preferences for the adoption of management alternatives. We will do some qualitative interviews with forest managers and owners to map hurdles and stimuli that can affect their decision to adapt new management practices. And those data will then be analyzed to compare decision-making among different types of forest owners, managers with different objectives, knowledge, experience, and so on. And then finally, fifth, we will bring all that information together to assess the feasibility of a payment for ecosystem services. So if forest owners or managers adopt a certain management alternative, they might forgo some income. So this means they might need to get some compensation to adopt those management alternatives. We will look into that, to what extent there's a need to compensate them to adopt certain scenarios. The upper boundary of the compensation is then determined by the citizens' valuation of the ecosystem services that are provided under certain forest management alternatives. Bringing all those information then together allows us to assess whether there's, or to explore whether there's a potential of an instrument like a payment for ecosystem schemes to stimulate the adoption of forest management alternatives that have a high carbon mitigation potential. And yeah, these are some key activities that will be performed within this project to assess whether forest management and wood products can contribute to a sustainable bioeconomy.